So did you guys have a snack before you went to bed that night?
I forget it.
What was JonBenét's favorite snack?
I wish we had a spot. And from that, this is the front basement, but there are two windows in the basement.
Right there.
Yeah, two windows, and my dad had to break the windows, and they go around and lock the door. I mean, when the doors are locked, you can open them from the inside, not the outside.
See how smart he is? Just going back and reviewing some Burke stuff. Forgive me, still under the weather. But going back and reviewing some Burke stuff. Just to see it. Yeah, just kicking tires, just trying to see if there's anything there.
What about Christmas Eve? When you were going up there, did you guys have a snack before you went to bed that night?
I forget.
What was JonBenét's favorite snack?
I wish we had a spot. And from that.
Okay. Would she ever like a particular thing to eat during the day, for a snack?
Burke is far from clueless. Burke is actually well aware of what's happening around him, right? On the one hand, you go into the store, as has been recounted, and you see an article about you essentially being guilty of doing this crazy and awful thing to your sister JonBené. And you begin to cry because you immediately know the implications of it. Highly intelligent, highly aware. Your dad, the day of, comes and says JonBené is in heaven. You immediately understand the implications of it, and you begin crying. Yet at the funeral, I think it was Doug Stein that was with him, kind of hanging back. You hang back, and you don't go up there. I am still fuzzy on the funeral, because in Dr. Phil's interview, he said he went up and the casket was an open casket. He said the casket was an open casket, and I was like, when was it an open casket? Because the funeral we saw, it was a closed casket. So how, and we saw you at that funeral standing back, not even approaching the casket. So how was JonBenét's eye droopy? How did we see that? Very well aware, when the reporters and when his friends tell him, hey, some reporters came to school looking for you, as you all are probably aware of the elaborate scheme that is talked about in the interviews with Patsy, and how they had to put Susan Stein on the case, and they hired a team, which is what Mike King was talking about. They hired a security team and put them in the school. Told the boys to get, Burke and Doug, told the boys to get down, stay down in the back seat while Susan drove to school. And even sometimes when you weren't at school, your friends would tell you, and you were able to talk about, oh yeah, absolutely, Burke is not here. Speaking very, very well, very clear, very concise about it. But here, when I ask you about your sister, you begin to clam up as if you don't know anything about your sister. What do you see your sister eating? What's her favorite snack? All of a sudden, we're clueless about this stuff. That's weird to me. You sit back, and all of a sudden, you don't know anything.
Whenever mom had laid out, because she always had laid out a snack for after school.
Okay.
So whatever she had ready, you could just eat.
And what would a typical snack be?
Pudding or um I don't know, just like leftover pizza.
What do you eat? That's all I'm asking. What do you eat? Cat got your tongue? What do you eat?
Some
So would there ever be, it sounds like your mom was pretty nutritional,
she wasn't that serious.
wasn't she?
Yeah.
Some
Cooking.
some moms cut up apples.
Yeah.
What else would she get fruit-wise?
That's all I know. Pineapple.
Pineapple.
Yeah.
You mentioned it once before. Is that kind of a favorite other thing?
It's like
You probably can't see it, but I'd be willing to bet that this look is similar to a look that we've seen.
that's all I know. Pineapple.
What else would she get fruit-wise?
This look right here. It's blurry, so you can't see it, but
That's all I know. Pineapple.
you saw he laughed. He just laughed a little bit. It's similar. I bet this is a look that he made.
There'd be a tabloid, with my picture, JonBenét's picture, plastered on the front. They would follow us around. Seeing that as a little kid, it's just kind of chaotic nightmare. So I was pretty skeptical of any sort of media. It just made me a very private person. As to why I'm doing it now, it's the 20th anniversary, and there's apparently still a lot of attention around it. Well, private person. As to why I'm doing it now, it's the 20th anniversary, and there's apparently still a lot of attention around it.
That look. When he laughed, or he kind of sort of giggled, and he was like, and he looked up, I think it was this look that he gave, kind of with a smirk. He was like, that's all I know. So a little bit consistency there, but also too, just a point of reference. Everybody's smiling normally. JonBené as being JonBené, but this face that Burke is doing.
Burke were investigated but never charged.
Slept soundly in his room that
Normal face.
Christmas of 1996, while his sister's skull was fractured and she was strangled nearby.
Her parents, John and Patsy, a 9.
This look right here makes me think now when Burke said he transitioned from being, I guess, an outgoing, bubbly person to a private person. I think the transition had to do with what we can find on his face here. His lips are pressed together inward, but his eyes are lit up. It's almost like he's beaming with excitement, with joy. Somebody that was in their own right, super excited. Have you ever seen kids who just kind of they're so excited that they clench their teeth and they're like, like something like that. And they're like doing this, you know what I mean, with their arms because they're so excited. And sometimes there can be a little aggression there, just a playful aggression. It almost seems like, excuse me, it almost seems like that's what this look is telling me. Like a playful aggression of, Burke, go get your toys or go get your action figure. Patsy's kind of, not really stunning him because she knows how he is. Go get your toys, go get your stuff. And he's like, Mom, I'm so excited. That's what that look is giving me. But it's also prone to possible emotional swings. If I am willing to be this expressive, and show that much excitement, then it's also possible that for some reason or not, when I throw a bad attitude, it gets bad. I remember someone similar when my nephew was younger, and he used to hang out with this friend, and this friend was good kid, man, but very excited, kind of in this way would do the same thing I'm describing with the, that. But sometimes when he heard what he didn't want to hear, he would um, become mopey. He would throw an attitude. Mom, why can't I get this? Mom, man. And like he never did anything like super crazy. But sometimes when you engage a kid in that mopey state, maybe you say something that they don't want to hear. They're like, man, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. And just depending on how much you push them, they might swing on you. They might fight with you. So that same level, that same level of excitement, I guess is what I'm saying, can become a hostility. That's all I'm saying. So back to the video.
Pineapple.
Yeah.
You mentioned that once before. Is that kind of a favorite?
Yeah.
Other thing?
It's really like something's favorite thing.
Is that probably the most favorite?
Apples or pineapple. Probably the two.
Did you ever have any?
Like favorite thing.
Is that probably the most favorite?
Apples or pineapple. Probably the two.
Did you ever?
So when asked about the pineapple, and I think Commander Eller says, is that a favorite? He says yes, immediately, flies out of his mouth. It almost seemed like he tried to pull back just a little bit.
Apples or pineapple.
Is that probably the most favorite?
Apples or pineapple. Yeah.
Was that kind of a favorite?
Yeah. Really.
He went, yeah, and then pulled back. Now we remember John doing something similar when they were asking about Burke being involved at, I think, CrimeCon, and they said, did you do it? And he's like, no. Did Patsy do it? No. And then they said, did Burke do it? And he was like, no. Pushed it out there and pulled back, as if to kind of look over and say it's possible that there's more to this story. Possibly, like we talked about, when I say this, I might trail off into a thought that you're not privy to. So if John did it on the stage at CrimeCon, he could have been trailing off into a thought, that you're not privy to, that I'm thinking about. And maybe Burke would, as Burke was on Dr. Phil, and I can't remember exactly what he mentioned, or they asked him about going downstairs, and if you're down there, do you think you would have heard the screams? And he said, I don't know, maybe. And he kind of just bit his lip and look over. Like, this is kind of along that same trajectory, or that same line, that same path, I would say. Is that a favorite in your house? Yeah, it's okay. So you got some on your mind in terms of it. Let's dig a little bit further. This is where detective's intuition will come in.
Is that probably the most favorite?
Apples or pineapples. Probably the two.
And so he said, is that the most favorite? And he said apples or pineapples. But I come back to pineapples. Number two, it's been sort of said that it's, it wasn't pineapple in JonBenét's stomach. Could have been cherries, could have been grapes. John mentioned in an interview, he said, hey, look, or like a fruit cocktail. John mentioned in the interview, he said, they had everything. They had cherries, they had grapes, they had this, they had that, they had apples, so on and so forth. And so apples and pineapple, again, circulate around this situation. Even if we say that JonBenét had a fruit cocktail that included apples, it still circulates. Kind of like Patsy in the circulation of, well, you can't be included or unincluded in the ransom note, or you can't be unincluded in the ransom note. We still got to take a look at you. And Burke and Patsy, in terms of testing certain items, we can't take you out. We got to include you. Circulation. And the same thing here. Could have been apples, could have been pineapples, but the pineapple is mentioned second, possibly to throw us off or make us deviate, but I come back and I got to tell the truth. Pineapples it is. So when we talk about investigating and following a trail of path, and why are you guys so stuck on this? Because I see a bowl of pineapples on the table, and you're telling me that it has nothing to do with this, but yet you're also telling me that this is a favorite. So why would I not believe that this has anything to do with you? Lynn Wood would come in here and cause a diversion, and he would jump in and say, well, how do we know if it wasn't this, or how do we know if it wasn't that, and divert and completely frustrate. That's his job, to frustrate, to just ask questions that have nothing to do with anything, but just ask questions and frustrate people. That's where he would came in.
Did you ever have any keys that maybe if you got locked out, you could get somewhere? You know, some people keep keys kind of hidden under something, or, you know, like, out in the yard, or a secret hiding place that they can put a key, you know, if they get locked out.
I don't remember. I mean, one time we did get locked out, and there are, and this is a dark basement, but there are 2 windows in the basement. Yeah, 2 windows. And my dad had to break the windows, and they go around and unlock the door. I mean, when the doors are locked, you can open them from the inside, not the outside.
See how smart he is? He's telling you the process. Not only is he telling you the process, but he's telling you I watched you and I observed the process. Not only did I watch you and observe the process, but I'm looking in depth more at the process from my own personal level. This is my personality. So when you see Burke sit on Dr. Phil and say, I'm not really interested, I'm not really curious, that kind of seems like it's at odds with this. Because Burke is here very aware of the process of, okay, my dad did this for this window. And then, because when you go around and you lock the door, oh, so you watch it. So if a dad turns around and says, you watching me, son? He says, yeah, Dad, I'm watching you. I'm watching everything my dad told me to watch. I got my eyes on it. You're interested. But then you lay in bed and you say, I guess I just like to avoid conflict.
Are you talking about basement windows?
Yeah, he broke the basement, went through there, came out around.
Then let you in.
Yeah, I think it's the front door.
Were you with him when that happened? When he had to get in that way?
Yeah, I was with him, but I didn't actually go in.
No. Okay. You waited where?
I don't know where exactly.
Okay.
This is the front door of the store.
Okay, so he had to let you in that way.
Yeah.
So he's now saying that Dad let me in, and he started talking about the front door a little bit. But then it almost sounds like now he's saying, oh, I don't know where that part of the basement leads to. My dad came in through front door, and he let me in, but I don't know where that leads to. Patsy said Burke was in the basement more often, or Patsy or John said Burke was in the basement more often than JonBené. You would be well aware of that basement and the layout, the schematics of that basement. Another thing, he said there were 2 windows, or 3, or he said there were 2 windows in the basement. There were several windows in the basement.
You waited where?
I don't know where exactly. Okay. This is the front door of the store.
Okay, so he had to let you in that way.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just this short clip.
Yeah. I think someone is very quiet and you can walk there too. You
It's interesting that he used his right hand, because I think the garrote or the toggle rope, whatever you want to call it was on coming out of her left side of her neck. And it wasn't they said up, it was more so to the side with a slight elevation, is according to the autopsy report. Slight elevation, not high, slight. So it's kind of like up out here. If a person is holding this way, that person is holding from with their left hand. And with their dominant hand, they have free, if they're right-handed, they're free to do whatever with the dominant hand. So whoever was committing this heinous crime at the time had a free right hand to make a motion with whatever they used, similar to this. And not straight, excuse me, not straight. Hold on. It didn't go straight, right? It came at an angle. That way. Not this way. That way. Over that way. So if I got you like this, with my left hand, and my dominant hand is free, and whoever this intruder was that he's describing could have gone, really wasn't pulling up, but pulling out, could have gone like that. There is leverage in holding this way, pulling out slightly up, and coming back. Boom. However you hit though, because they said did a little damage, but it didn't sort of break all the way through. The crack didn't crack all the way through, but it did crack, but not all the way through. That's so disgusting to think about, man. Anyways, I just got disgusted to think about that. That's what's possible to me. Anyways, let me know what you think. That's the end of the video. Like, share, subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Again, sorry for being under the weather. Let me know what you think. Until next time, take it easy.